Hey guys, thank you for joining me on another absolutely beautiful day here in the forest. I talked about doing a little mini series on the gear that I first purchased. What I want to do is add to the series of gear that I first purchased for Bushcraft and show you the kit that I carry, or that I carried when I first started out. I grabbed a pack that I had at home, just one that I didn't use anymore and I had laying around. Any backpack is gonna do when you're first looking to get out there. I like having the items on hand to be able to treat any kind of injury I may get in the woods. I have a video on this, you can check that out, the contents of my first aid kit. But aside from a backpack that you need to carry your stuff in, I also suggest a little first aid kit to get started. This was my first container that I owned. I purchased it at Walmart for about $4 with the handles that fold out, stainless steel, and I did all of my cooking in here. The water bottle that I used to use, I no longer have it, but I used to put a Gatorade bottle in here, the fatter Gatorade bottles. My Gatorade bottle worked fine because I rarely put the bottles themselves over the fire. This is what I always put in the fire. The first stainless steel container that I did buy was this Stanley stainless steel container. I've had this for quite some time and I've never put it in the fire. Even though I upgraded from the Gatorade bottle to this, I still would just pour the water into this and cook and boil in this right here. We had trash bags at home for leaves and I just grabbed a few of those and started to use them. When you have your trash bag, all I did was cut along the top and cut along the side, and I use this for a tarp. I use this to drag wood, to get in out of the elements, to cover up my gear when it was raining. Every corner I would put my own grommets. I'd make my own grommets. I'd put a piece of Gorilla Tape down and one across to kind of double up the end here and strengthen that, and then just cut a square to create my grommet. And this is what I would use every time out as my cover element. It binds to itself because it's tarred, which is what I like a lot about it. It has a thinner profile. It can also be unraveled into smaller pieces, ridge lines, lashing, anything that I need to use cordage for. Bankline has always done the trick for me. There's nothing wrong with paracord at all, guys. My favorite use for paracord has been these braided paracord ridge lines that I made. I have 3 of them. There's a couple of them here and then I have one on another piece of gear, but they're about 20 to 25 feet long and I use them all the time. The single strands I'll use every once in a while, mainly to hang my pack, but everything else I use number 36 Bankline and it hasn't failed me yet, and it's very affordable. You do not need to spend a lot of money on a ferro rod. I just bought a cheap one off the Pathfinder store. It's not this same one. That one I actually wore through because I used it and practiced so much, but it was very similar to this model here. I practiced and practiced and practiced until I got good at it. $5 maybe? If not, I know it was under $10. So this is the ferro rod that I first started out with, or one similar to it. I was always fascinated with flint and steel, so I have been carrying a flint and steel kit from the very beginning. Just an Altoids tin, char cloth, which costs you basically nothing to make. The char cloth I have in here today are just rolled up pieces of denim that I buy at Goodwill. I just buy a pair of old jeans. Any jeans are gonna work as long as they're 100% cotton denim. You can char them and they work really well. I have a piece of chert. You find something that strikes. My striker here is about $6. One other thing that I added to my combustion kit when I was new is cotton ball and Vaseline. I rarely use these anymore, guys, because I learned over time how to get the fire started with different materials, but this is what got me out and about and going. I learned to use my ferro rod with cotton ball and Vaseline. When you've never started a fire with them before and you get a spark on these for the first time and you start fire, that's exciting. Cheap, homemade way of fire starters. I didn't have to purchase any, and I've never purchased any fire starters themselves because I used to use these when I was brand new. The cutting tools that I started out with, guys, while it may not be the best saw that was ever created. This cost me about $4 on sale at Sears, and it did every single thing that I wanted it to do. If I'm not mistaken, it only cut on the pull, not on the push. I could be wrong about that. It's been quite some time since I used it. Pretty solid throughout my use of it. At the time I purchased this, it's the Morakniv Companion MG. I think it was about $13. Scandinavian grind, nice and thin for your carving. I put my own 90-degree spine on it with a bastard mill file, rubberized handle. And this knife did everything for me. So sometimes people, when they're first starting out, cutting tools are where you can get overwhelmed a lot. I did a whole year's worth of Morakniv videos to show how good they are for the beginner or the experienced woodsman alike. You cannot go wrong with Morakniv. This has its limitations, of course, but when you're on a budget like I was, or when you're first starting out, it teaches you more about you and more about the gear. And it's that learning from the gear that allows us to develop in a better way. The gear doesn't make the person, guys. The person makes the gear. It doesn't take a whole lot to get out there. You know, you just need a very basic level of gear to get out there, and then experience is going to teach you the rest. It's going to teach you how to use the gear you have, what you need to upgrade, what works for you and what doesn't. So I hope you stick with me, because I'm going to make another little video here on putting this gear to use and how I used to use it, and I hope that that will help as well. Nice to see everybody, and we'll talk to you again down the road, guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.